How's it going, everybody? This is Lines on Paper, and this is our review of Spider-Man Life Story, issue number 3, The 80s. This wasn't the book I was originally going to review this week. I had another one in mind, but I sat down, I read the books that I bought this week, and this book was so blow me away amazing that we had to go change of plans and look at this one a little bit closer. So for those of you who haven't been keeping up with the comic or don't know what the comic is, Spider-Man Life Story is taking the saga of Spider-Man from the beginning as if he was bitten by the radioactive spider back in the 60s when the comic originally debuted, and now he is aged throughout the years. So in the 60s, we saw Spider-Man in his teens shortly after the spider bite. The 70s, which was issue number 2, now you've got Spider-Man kind of in his mid to late 20s. Now here we are, issue number 3, the 80s, and we pick up with Spider-Man's life again, Peter Parker's life, and now he's in his mid to late 30s. And this, before we go on, I want everyone to know, this is not the Peter Parker you quite know from the comic books. This guy is very different. We're watching, it's like watching the biography of a regular person's life, and this person happens to be Peter Parker. So as this book begins, we start with Mary Jane, and they, at the end of last issue, were starting to kind of get together, and now obviously a decade has passed, and they are married. She's pregnant. She has twins. Aunt May is still living with them, but Aunt May is in her 90s, and her faculties, her mind is kind of gone, and Peter and Mary Jane are taking care of her, and Peter's been missing for 3 weeks, nearly a month now, leaving a very pregnant MJ with Aunt May as the sole caretaker. And she is starting to kind of lament, is this the married life that I signed up for? And where's Peter? Well, you got to think, this is the 80s, Marvel Comics history. The Secret Wars were going on. So he is on Beyonder World with pretty much every other major hero and villain fighting it out for the Beyonder. And that's where he's been. So he is off-world. MJ has no idea where he is, hasn't heard from him. And again, because this is an age or a book where the Marvel characters age, you see that guy with the gray hair and the beard there, that's Mark Bagley, or Mark Bagley's art, rather, on Reed Richards. And I have to say, speaking of Mark Bagley, his artwork in this book is on another level. I am a big fan of his stuff anyway, but he has redone himself on this. He is showing that he is just a master at what he can do. Chip Zdarsky, the writer, has put together such a great story, such great character moments. The dialogue is fantastic. The story is fantastic. And I can't recommend this book high enough. So obviously one of the other big things going on in the 80s were Secret War. As you can see here, Spider-Man, his suit's getting tore up. So this is the point where he's going to be getting that black costume, the alien symbiote that would go on to become Venom. And as you can see, Spider-Man's suit is gadget based. It's armor. He's old. He's kind of losing that step a little bit. So as the book has gone on, his suit has kind of changed to suit what he needs it to be in his now getting, towards if he was a pro athlete, the end of his career. And he's a Superman, or a superhero, so this is kind of the end of his time at that. So when he gets the alien costume in this comic, it's more of, rather than just augmenting him and making him stronger, it makes him able to do what he was doing when he was young. So he even when he realizes the suit is an alien, it's a symbiote, it's trying to take over, he doesn't want to give it up because it's allowing him to do what he normally would not be able to do, which is be Spider-Man, because he's lost that step. He's older, his knees are going, his joints are getting painful or getting old and rickety, and it's just an interesting, fascinating take on the character. So again, we have the black costume. The other storyline going on in this from the 80s is Kraven's Last Hunt, which Chip Zdarsky does an excellent job just masterfully weaving these two stories together, taking two of probably the biggest events of the 80s for Spider-Man, making him in one story, one chapter in his life where you get to see a snapshot, and it's just a gut punch of a story with a heartbreaking ending to this issue. I really hope you give it a shot. I enjoyed the heck out of this book, and I'm sure I'll probably revisit another issue before it's done, and then we'll definitely do a series review once the book is over. So let's move on to the pull list. Now, last week, if you guys watched my video, I was really kind of perturbed. There wasn't anything that on the shelves that interested me as a comic buyer, so I went ahead and took a chance on 2 books. Kind of broke my own rule of not buying comics that I don't intend to collect, but I gave 2 books a shot. I was not happy with either one of them. I think I made that pretty clear. So this week, though, we had a little bit of embarrassment of riches. We had a lot of good stuff. So keeping with Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man number 21, Legacy number 822, for those of you who try to keep everything in order. I don't know how you can in this age of reboots. The Hunted Part 5, Craven's plan turning Central Park into a weird kind of safari of Spider-Man's animal-themed villains continues. His plan unfolds. The Immortal Hulk, probably the other best book out on the market right now, other than Spider-Man Life Story. The Immortal Hulk continues. We see Bruce Banner's kind of in enemy territory, and the Hulk is suppressed. He can't turn into the Hulk for some reason. I'll let you read the book to find out why. This is another book that's just great. Al Ewing and Joe Bennett have crafted a story where they have taken the Hulk and they have made him the monster that he was when he first started, but then they took that and just put it on another level. Such a great story, great writing. Hulk like you've never, ever seen the character before. Definitely want to give the Immortal Hulk a chance. This was actually the book I was going to review, but then the Life Story Spider-Man blew me away, so we had to talk about that. Moving on, we got Uncanny X-Men. This book I'm still buying, even though I just found out that they're going to be rebooting the series again, and I've got a video on that coming up, my reaction to that news. But I went ahead and bought the latest issue. As you know, the X-Men lost a teammate a couple issues ago. They're still kind of reeling that, and now we've got the new King of the Hellfire Club. Emma Frost is starting to make her move and put herself on the board. And last but not least, we got the War of Realms, Marvel's mega event. I'm reading this one. It's not my favorite, but I'm 4 issues in. I think there's only 6, so I'll probably see it through to the end. Malekith and kind of the forces of Thor's villainy, or Rogue's Gallery rather, have come together, and they've pretty much taken over the world at this point, divided it up amongst each other, and what's left of the heroes are now tasked with trying to figure out how they're going to get everything back to normal. You've also got some of the Asgardians, Freya and Odin, and some of the others are getting involved. So it's an interesting story if you like the big crossover things. The cover price, $5 for these books. I don't know that it's totally worth it. Honestly, if I wasn't doing these reviews, I don't know that I'd stick through it, but I plan on doing a series review on this mess once it all wraps itself up. But if you like big mega events, you're a big fan of Thor, Jason Aaron is a good Thor writer. And if you've been keeping up with the Thor books, from what I've heard, this is a really good payoff to a lot of the plot threads that he's been weaving through there. I haven't been picking up the Thor books personally, so maybe that's why I'm not getting all out of it that some are, but it's still an interesting read. I like any crossover or any big mega event where it's a big villain showing up to do something huge. Those are the type of stories I like out of my comics, as opposed to the heroes having to fight each other for some existential reason. I'd rather just see him kick the butt of a villain. So give this one a shot if it interests you. That's all I have for this week. Please let me know in the comments below if there was a book that I skipped that you'd like to see me review, something that I'm not reading. Always looking for new material. Let me know if you agree with the review I did today. If you maybe read the Life Story Spider-Man and hated it, let me know why. Let me know if you picked it up because of this review and enjoyed it. I'd like to hear other people's opinions on it. Hit like and subscribe if you can. If you're in a position to help the channel grow, we have a Patreon account. Please visit that. And that's all I've got for you. See you later this week, everybody. Bye.